A few years ago, I traveled to China and South Korea with about 10 students and 10 faculty members through the Far East Asia program trip sponsored by the Rinker Center for International Programs. We spent 3 weeks in China and then 2 weeks in South Korea, traveling through Shanghai, Beijing, Seoul, Daegu, Busan, and several other cities. And one of my most memorable experiences was climbing the Great Wall and getting to walk along there and see the landscape and just really enjoy the scenery. And so much to the point that I came back and I just had the travel bug and decided to study again. So I chose an ISEP program, the International Student Exchange Program. I decided to spend a semester in Botswana at the University of Botswana for the spring semester, and one of my favorite things to do while we were there was traveling even more, and so I got to go on a safari trip in the northern part of the country, and I got to see elephants alongside the road and lions and hippos, and it was just such an incredible opportunity.
I studied abroad on a Keys trip to Italy 3 summers ago, and it was for about 5 weeks. At the end, I extended the program and went to Greece for a week, which was really nice that I had that option to kind of study on my own. One of the greatest parts about the trip in Italy, though, was that it was during soccer season. So one of my professors, the female, was from Spain and the male was from Italy. So when they were dueling, there was kind of a duel in our group, but we also went out with the professors and immersed ourselves to use our languages. Like, we studied Italian language as one of the classes there. So we got to use that and also watch the soccer games with people in the community, like at a diner. And so everyone's yelling at the TV for Italy to win, and we're kind of jumping in there with the little bit of Italian that we know. And it was just great because we were able to immerse ourselves in that culture, and that's not something I would have gotten here in America.
In the summer of 2010, I studied in Greece for 5 weeks. One of the things I didn't expect about my experience abroad was the connections that I made, not only with the places I was visiting, but also with the people that I was visiting them with. I'd never met any of these people before I went on the trip, and by the time it was over, they were some of my dearest friends, and they still are today.
I would recommend students to study abroad to really challenge their worldview and meet new people and try new foods and just experience a whole new culture. It will really change your life.
So I studied abroad in the spring semester of 2010. I went to Edinburgh Napier University in Edinburgh, Scotland, and I was there for a semester. I went through the ISEP Exchange Network. I chose to do the direct option instead of the exchange option, so I directly matriculated into the university. I would say my favorite experience during my semester abroad probably was during the Winter Olympics in 2010. They happened in Vancouver, Canada, but I lived in the International Residence Hall that was provided by the university. And so during the Olympics, all the international students would get together and watch different events. And one of my favorite memories was watching the gold match for the hockey. It was the US versus Canada. And there were people there from Canada and the US, all over Europe, all over Asia, and it was just really cool to get to watch something that global all together with so many people from all over the world.
I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And oh, I can fly, I can fly, I can fly. And oh, I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And I'm loving every second, minute, hour, bigger, better, stronger.
I definitely would recommend studying abroad to anybody. It was a great experience that I would never have gotten if I stayed here. Even though mine was only for a couple weeks, I made a lot of great friends that I still talk to through Facebook, and a couple of them I still see on campus. I think that even though it's a little bit expensive sometimes, when you actually look at what you're paying for, it would be so much more if you did it on your own. It's definitely worth it.
I did it for my mama. I told her when I was younger that I'ma be that number one. Yep, I'll be that number one. I take it higher and higher, higher and higher. I stay on fire,
If I were to give reasons to study abroad, I think my number one reason would be to expand your mind about how the world functions. I think it's pretty easy to get stuck in the mindset of being in the United States and only seeing the world through our lens. But once you're outside of that, you kind of get to see how the world functions from a very different vantage point. I think that's really important to be able to work in a global environment. And I'd also say that you should study abroad because I think it definitely challenges you to challenge your own beliefs and opinions. It forces you to grow as an independent individual.
Coming from a small town in western Kentucky, you get this idea that your world is so small and that everything else beyond it is just out of your reach and that you're never going to get there. Study abroad helped me to realize that those things and those places and those experiences really were something that I could do, and it's really changed my perspective moving forward.